Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. Welcome to this class on using Autodesk BIM 360 design for infrastructure. My name's Ian Robinson and I'm the infrastructure consultant for Greytech. I travel around from my base here in the UK helping customers get the most out of their infrastructure design and BIM related software. This includes training, consulting, presenting, bit of social media. My main focus is on Civil 3D, Map 3D, GIS being my background, InfoWorks, Recap for your point clouds, and Navisworks for your federated models and clash detection, and now BIM 360. There are 4 pillars to what we do here in Greytech: create, simulate, fabricate and manage. We work with the Autodesk portfolio and our own Power Pack enhancements to aid the creation of construction and manufacturing deliverables. We then combine this with the use of our simulation products to verify those deliverables. This enables us to drive them into the fabrication process, and then we manage them deliverables, with our CDE products linking to internal and external platforms. This class is in the manage phase of the project using BIM 360, to which our own product OpenTrees works with. You should go and see the OpenTree classes while you're here. This class is aimed to do 3 things. Firstly, explain what BIM 360 design collaboration for Civil 3D is. I guess most of you have some sort of idea, otherwise you wouldn't be here. But let's put the official spin on it so that we all know what we're talking about. Secondly, what do you need for BIM 360 design collaboration for Civil 3D to make it work? Which products and subscriptions do you need? And lastly, how does it work? I'll show you that. I'll just make a project and I'll share some Civil 3D files including XREFs and DREFs, the data shortcuts. BIM 360 is a unified suite of products that connects your project teams and data in real time, from design through construction and into operation. It's a cloud-based platform. Well, what does that mean? It means all the installation, the setup, the configuration is someone else's problem. It's always up to date. When new features are added, you just get that feature. You don't need to wait for your IT to download it, check it, package it and deploy it. There's no complicated databases to manage either. You just need access. It's been designed for the end user and not the IT department. Now, your design files are all backed up and managed. Versioning is done for you. Multiple people can work on the same project without passing files to each other. And project milestones can be shared to non-technical people with a managed access. Up until last year, most of these collaboration tools were designed for the Revit users, but now this has been opened up to the civil engineers too, with BIM 360 design collaboration for Civil 3D. All you need is BIM 360 design, and when you have that, you also get BIM 360 docs. You just need to install the Autodesk desktop connector on the client machines. Collaboration for Civil 3D allows subscribers to BIM 360 design and Civil 3D to work collaboratively within your organization and with project partners at any time, anywhere. It doesn't matter where they are in the world, doesn't matter what discipline they are. It can include architects, engineers, contractors. With the existing Revit Cloud work sharing capabilities and the addition of collaboration for Civil 3D on the same platform, designing anything, vertically or horizontal structures, it's much simpler and more efficient. Not only can you collaborate using a streamlined workflow and a unified platform, you can now also perform your day-to-day management activities in the same place. For the user, there is a desktop connector. This manages all the transfer of data from the machine to the cloud. It runs in the Windows taskbar, and you can manage pending actions simply with a right click. It also gives you a BIM 360 drive on your computer. Your Windows Explorer will have that BIM 360 drive, and you can see it there. And you manage the data in the same way you would as if it's a C drive, just drag and drop files in and out, etc. In Civil 3D, on the Start tab, there's a BIM360 area by the Recent Files and Learning. You can open from there. Of course, you can still use Windows Explorer and drag and drop files as you have been doing. Just carry on as normal in Civil 3D. Of course, you do need to consider things like bandwidth, particularly if you're working at home with very large files, so be mindful of that. But the time to upload to the servers really isn't an issue because it's all done for you in the background. You just carry on working. The big advantage is that no one will be contacting you and asking you to search for and send them files which might be too big for email and you have to put onto a server anyway. It's just not a problem. You can also use your browser to navigate to the documents too. That means people can also see the files and download them if they need them. And they can view the files, they can view models and do markup and measure and sectioning, etc. straight from the browser without having any specialist software like Civil 3D installed. For a full view of BIM360, please go to our BIM360 classes in here, and that will give you even more information. BIM360 Docs is also where you store your InfoWorks and Revit files. All them models are put in the same place. You can combine them into one project and manage it all in one space. Here's a project in BIM360 Docs. It's got some civil files in there, it's got an InfoWorks model in there, it's got a Revit file in there. But it doesn't stop there. It's a full document store. It will store any documents, AutoCAD, GIS files, Inventor files, reports, spreadsheets, PDFs. It's a place to store all your project files. So let's just go ahead and take a good look. Here is Autodesk BIM360. I'm in the account admin, which is as good a place as any as to start. As I mentioned, this is for the Civil 3D users and explaining what they will be using. So I am going to focus on the user side of things, but it's useful for everybody to know how things are managed. If you are specifically an administrator or a manager and will be using BIM360, I highly recommend you go and see Grant's presentations on Autodesk BIM360 that will give you a lot more detail. But just as a very brief overview, we have our account admin here, and this is where you can put all your projects. And in your projects, that's where we're going to store all our files. But before we do that, we need to make sure that we have people. This is where the people are stored. We need to make sure that we have people managing all the projects, and some of them need varying levels of access. Some are just read-only, some are managing data, some are managing the project administration. So you need to make sure that we have people. We need to be in here, so I should be in this list. There I am. I'm an active user and I'm in a company called Greytech, because you can also put people in companies. You don't have to be in a company, but it's useful to place everybody in a company so that you can email everybody in that company, for example, and say this project's for you. People also have roles, so we can give people roles. And there we are. So these are the roles that you can manage. You can make your own up in there, T-Boy or whatever. Each of the projects, so that architect has document management but doesn't have project management, whereas the civil engineer, I've given them a member of the project management team as well. The construction manager, he's got cost management, field management and model coordination. As I mentioned, if you want more information on these specific roles and how they work, go over and see Grant's presentation. I'm just going to concentrate on the civil engineer. So let's go back to projects, and we can create a project in here. So let's just do one. So we'll create this project, we'll add one. The only two fields that have to be in there, well, there's three technically, one of them is the language, but that's already filled in for us, is a project name and a project type. So let's just create a project now. And let's just call this our BIM up project, like so. I better just put civil on there, just so that in case anybody of my colleagues have created a project called BIM. We just need to tell it what type of project it is, and I'm going to make it a infrastructure project, and we'll just call it streets and highways. And then the other things are in there. Is it new construction? Is it renovation? You can put a project value in there. I don't know. Whatever. Obviously we don't want it in US dollars, so we'll do it in British pounds. You can say what type of contract it is. And again, these are optional. It's not... we'll do design and build. You can put in start dates. So let's say we're going to start in October the 12th and finish on the 21st, and we'll go March the 16th for whatever reason. And you can put a project number in there as well if you want. Now these sort of metadata things make things easier to search for in the future. We can add a project picture if we want. I'll just stick one in there randomly, and we can put the address in and the postcode and things like that. Now if you do put things like the address in, and the postcode EX1, actually no, it's in the United Kingdom, and it's in England. And we'll set the time zone. I'll suggest setting the time zone makes most sense, because if you don't set the time zone, when it sends emails out and things like that, they'll all be set to the wrong time. And we'll go with that. There is a business unit in there, so I'll put it into Grey Tech, and we'll save and continue. Now for the civil engineer, all we really need to do is activate the document management. So that's the minimum we need. So I'll do that. For a major project, for lots of other reasons, you would do all the rest. Now, even though you need to have BIM360 design as a package, this design collaboration area is for the Revit user. So if I just activate that, I can use a template if I want, and I can just pick whichever one I want in there, and I actually don't have one called a template, so I will use one. I do actually have one I've put in here that is not a template, but I will use it. Infrastructure streets template. Okay, we then need to assign somebody to it. So you need a project manager. So that'll be me, and I can say that I'm at Grey Tech, but you know, whatever. There it is, and we'll save that. Now we can add more admins in there, but I'm not going to do that. And I'm not going to activate any other services, so I'll just finish that project. So we now have a project called BIM Up Civil in there. Obviously I've only added myself in there. In the real world you'd add all your project teams in there. So what we can now do is we can go into that project. If we look at the waffle here now within this project, what appears in here will depend on what you activated. So all I activated was document management. We do have a project admin area here, and you can see that's me, and we've got here I've got no access to Insight, but I've got access to I've got administration access to documents, and I can turn them on or off. Oh, I don't want to do that, do I? There, turn that off or turn that on. So again, we can have multiple people in there, and we can manage who of them actually have management rights. Let's go into the document management, and we'll see that we have a project. Now, because I picked a template, it's already created all the files for me. all the folders should I say, for me. But of course I can add files. And what I do like about this, unlike some web browser based applications, when you right click on them you get the web browser right click contextual menus, whereas here you don't. We get as if we're working in any other drive. We can upload, we can rename, we can add subfolders in here. So if I wanted to add a folder in there, I can just call it that, and I'll put standards documentation. Spell it right. Documentation. There we are. And we can just add folders in there. And of course we could in here simply upload files. I can go in and upload files or linked files. So I'll just do files and we'll go and find them files. And I've been to them before, so I'll just go straight to them. There they are. And then we can upload any number of files in there. I'll just pick in the Uniclass folder, which one? 1.7. And that's going to sit there and upload in the background, and then everybody will be able to see that file. So you're all working off the same file, and if you need to change something, everybody sees that change, which is perfect. Now let's switch to Civil 3D. Now in Civil 3D we have our Start tab. You've seen that for many years now, and the recent files are here, and this is a list of all the recent files that I've been working on. Notice some of them have little cloud symbols, and some of them have little computer symbols telling you where they're being stored. Now to access the cloud, you've got your BIM360 on the left hand side here, and that's going to access the cloud, and then it'll pick the last project that I was on, but I can go and pick any other projects that I want. So there's a one here which I'll be looking at in a minute, which is currently empty. If I go back to that Civil 3D project and the project files, and there's all the project files, all the folders, etc. We can go into civil drawings and open up files, etc. from there, or we can save to there as well. So if I go to my final design here, I can do a save as, and I can hit the BIM360, go into the BIM360, there's that project, BIM up civil, project files, civil drawings, production drawing. I'm going to hit save in there, and we're just going to let that run in the background. Can you see there's a little green dot down here? Basically if I look at pending actions, we'll see that that is going to sync with my online drive. And we'll just let that work away for a minute. Won't take long. So just locking the file because I've got it open at the moment. I'll close that down. Now this cross-section file is basically a load of DREFs and XREFs. If I go to the model and type XREF, it's got XREFs in there, and it also has some DREFs in there. If I go to manage and manage data shortcuts, we can see that there is a shortcut to the alignments there, which is currently on my H drive. So it's currently going to my project folder, and these alignments are being referenced on my H drive. So what happens if we do a save as, and again I'll put it in the same folder. I suspect it went to the same place, but I just wanted to prove to you that I'm doing that. BIM up project folder, production drawings, sorry, Civil 3D, and then production drawings, isn't it? Look, final design is in there, and we'll hit save. And we'll just let that work away in the background. You can see the little green dot down there, and we'll let that work away in the background. And in the meantime, we'll have a look at other options as well. Okay, so here is my standard Windows Explorer, and there's my BIM360. So what we should see is we should see in my BIM up project civil, the project files, the civil drawings, and we should see the production drawings, and there's our two files. Currently cached. Versioning is done for us, that is version 1 on there. And if we have a look in our BIM360, let's go back to that project and go into documents, civil drawings, production drawings, and there's our two drawings. So if we have a look at, say, the cross-section drawing, and go to our sheets, we can zoom in and do some markup and look at these drawings, check the data out, etc, etc. So it's all up there just for doing a save as on what looks like a local drive, but of course it's a cloud drive. Now let's have a look at the next thing. What if we have a project all set up on our local drive? And this is quite common. We'll set up the project locally and then we'll transfer it to our shared environment. So I've got here a local project, okay, and it's basically on my H drive, Civil 3D projects, my shared project, production drawings, and that's where this project is, and that's where all the data shortcuts are. Now I've already mentioned data shortcuts and DRES. We're going to look at them in a minute. We're going to go back and look at them in a minute. So let's have a look at what we can do with that. Well, if we go back to my BIM projects and we'll have a look, I've got another project I've set up currently called BIM Up Infrastructure, and in there, in the project files, it's empty. And we can prove that by going back here, going to my infrastructure project, and in there it's currently go to project files, it's currently empty. Okay, so I'm just going to go off that one and just minimize that. Here's another option. Let's go to our Civil 3D projects and just grab the whole folder. Now the thing to bear in mind here, any of these that are empty, it will not transfer. It won't transfer empty folders. So what is a good idea is to put a little placeholder. If you want these folders to come through, I put a little placeholder which just says placeholder. That's all it is, or placeholder. Okay, so let's just drag that whole folder, Civil Shared Project, into there. And you'll see it's going to transfer it in the bottom there. And by the magic of technology, and I'm back. So we've transferred the data. Let's have a look in BIM360. There it is. There's all our data. And let's have a look at our production drawings. And they're all in there as well. Now, here's the really smart thing. Let's have a look at our drawing. So this is our cross-section drawing that we just dragged and dropped in. If we manage data shortcuts, you will see that that alignment is now at this path here, okay, which is my BIM360 cache, local cache. The cleverest bit though is if you go and open this file, it will download into your cache and it will repath to your cache. So anybody who opens this file up will have the DREFs unbroken. And the same for XREFs. So if I have a look at XREFs now and look at the path there to my local BIM360 cache, if you open it up on your machine, it will be your local BIM360 cache and it will just work. One thing to note while I'm in here is the little cloud symbol there. That is telling me that I'm getting this from the cloud, which is quite nice. And of course the alignments in here still have their shortcuts referencing in there as well, even though I'm using a cloud one. So bear that in mind. It's a cloud one. It's got a little pencil by it, which usually means it's an editable one. Now, One thing you can do is also look at your telephone. So this is my phone. I'm just going to open it up, and so this could be a tablet on site, it could be a mobile phone, whichever. If I go to Autodesk and open up BIM360, there it is. There is my documents, and there are my projects. So these are the projects I've got access to. Let's go and find that file. Project files, production drawings, there they all are. And I can go into the cross-section views. Oh, interesting. Production drawings. Let's do the final design. Maybe I've left it a bit too quick. It's probably still doing a little bit of updating. So there we are. There's my final design drawing. I'm going all reinforced concrete pipes. I can have a look at it on 3D. Best looking in 3D on a tablet. It's a bit more fiddly on a phone, but there it is. Just 2 fingers and 1 finger for navigating around, 2 fingers for rotating and zooming. Oh, then it gets a bit wayward, so bear that in mind. You can do cross sections as well. We can do section views, etc. Not very relevant on this drawing, but you get the idea. And there's my cross-section view, and I can pick and drag, and there is a cross-section. Of my road. Rather nice. You get the idea. And we can measure and stuff like that, can't we? It's a bit harder to measure with a finger though, isn't it? So if I do distance, don't know whether I can do it with a finger. Oh yeah, see the little... But you get the idea. So we can work on the phone. I'd recommend a tablet, etc., and that would work. One thing I would say about that method that I've just used, the dragging and dropping, is it is not that reliable. We are talking about version 1, I guess, of this software with Civil 3D. I have found that it doesn't always transfer all of the folders and files. So I would probably be more confident if it's just a small amount of files, but on a large amount of files, I think you'll find it's more reliable just to create the project, create the folder structure, using the templates. You can use templates and then save into that folder, or just drag and drop into this window, which you can do. So rather than dragging into that window, you can just drag from here straight into that window, and that would probably be a little bit more reliable. While I'm in here, let's have a look at the web browser as well. Like I showed you in the presentation at the beginning there, I was saying that you can use a web browser to view this. So that means anybody can view this file that I've just created on my Civil 3D very quickly in a web browser. You don't need any specialist software. We can also see the sheet views. Excuse me. Yeah, so we've got all of the tools that we need to be able to view these files, and I can view in 3D as well, which is quite nice. A bit fiddly on the phone, wasn't it? It's a little bit more intuitive here because obviously I'm using a mouse, which is a lot easier. You can change the environment and the way it looks. I've done other presentations on that as well, showing you how that works. If we wanted to just have a look at the environment, and we'll go into the settings here. You can see the environment there, and there's lots of different environments, not all really kind of set up for Civil 3D type stuff. The appearance, you can put ambient shadows in and stuff like that, and ground shadows where it's relevant. You can see it makes quite a big difference to how it looks in there. Navigation, you can choose how you're going to navigate, and it's configured for performance, etc. We can do things like measure or section view, or there's third person where you can put a little guy in there. Sorry, first person. So we can you can navigate as if you're walking around the site, fit to view, all sorts of stuff we can do in there. Okay, so yeah, there's loads of options in there. What was underneath there? Look, and the pipes underneath. You can also redline and put text in and stuff like that. Usual kind of things. This needs looking at. So, etc. We can save the markup, then other people can view that markup later on. And I think we'll leave it there. So, if you have any questions, by all means, please ask them now.